Hello, this is Reginald, also known again as Brother Teacher. Just wanted to make my point of view known about the recent event that took place in Richland, South Carolina, with the young black teenager at high school. Well, for those of you that don't know or have not heard, even though it's been sort of front page news, as they say, um, in Spring Valley High School in Richland, South Carolina, uh, there was a young lady. From what I understand, she was a senior in high school. According to the accounts of her teacher, she was using her cell phone in class and she was disrupting the class and she would not follow commands. Therefore, the teacher contacted the school resource officer, which was a police officer. And this police officer showed up in the classroom. And by video account, the police officer physically grabbed the young lady along with her desk while she was sitting down. Now, from my perspective, she was not offering any resistance. And I saw the video several times from several angles, if you will. He picked her and the desk up that she was sitting in and basically slammed her to the floor and even drug her across the floor. Then he proceeded to ask her to put her hands, or tell her to put her hands behind her back. All because of a cell phone. All because, according to her teacher, she was not following instructions and she was disruptive to the class. Well, it's always interesting to me how the police departments and sheriff departments try to defend their own. It is no difference than you being a mother or father defending your children, or you being a gang member defending a fellow gang member. Organized crime defends its own. Civilized people defend their own. So why wouldn't the police defend their own? The problem is the police have a tendency, an awful tendency, to defend those that they know have done something against the law themselves or who have broken the law. And this is, in my estimation, a classic example of the same. Now, I have an issue when you have to resort to calling a police officer that you were pretty much aware of who had a bad past of physically handling people like this, especially when people were not nonviolent, especially when people were not trying to hurt you, the police officer, that is. And this is a young black female. It's interesting. That was excessive force. And before I even say excessive force, why was there any force at all? Whatever happened to diplomacy in the police department? Whatever happened to a school resource officer who has the ability to de-escalate a situation, or to talk a person down, or to talk to another human being as they would like to be talked to? What does this white supremacist mentality enter into the picture? Or where does this I'm a power authority and whatever I say to you, you must comply? Am I saying disobey the orders of a police officer? No, I'm not. I'm not condoning that if they are within the law. It is quite apparent that we continue to see these types of headlines in the news on a very, very regular basis now. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. And the police chief or the sheriff attempted to defend this police officer at first. And then finally, in a subsequent interview, he made the announcement that he was fired. Okay, he was fired. Was that justice being carried out? Not at all. That's the minimum punishment that should have been meted out against this police officer. If you fired him according to the sheriff of that county because he did not follow protocol or police procedure as it relates to how he handled that individual, if you fired him based on that because it was excessive force, as you said, you've already admitted that he was wrong and you fired him. Why is he not locked up? Why did he not get arrested and serve some time? Because you admitted he was wrong and you fired him as a result. But he's not locked up. So what you're doing is encouraging him, his behavior, so that the next job he has, he might get slapped on the wrist again. He could potentially, if he's still in law enforcement, even kill someone. Ben Fields should have been fired. But Officer Ben Fields should have been arrested and served some time as well. And it always seems to rub me raw. It rubs me the wrong way when I hear we're having some investigation. My friends, videos don't lie. How much investigation do you really need? From the outset to the conclusion of the matter. That's enough for me. You can have the teacher sit down and give his discourse as to what occurred. And then you can have the students that were present give their viewpoint from what occurred. And then you have the police officer that responded, and you make the comparison that the punishment fit the so-called crime. Now you can do that, but you probably will never do that because it's going to point an ugly finger back at the leadership and say to you that this apparently is something that you allow to happen pretty frequently in your department. This never should happen, never should happen, but it continues to happen in law enforcement. These guys are taught as a form of policy that people are supposed to respect them, and they take it to the limit. You're human beings just like us. The only difference is your vocation that you chose happened to be law enforcement, but it does not make you above the law. And again, I say before I conclude this video, Ben Fields should be locked up right now because he has caused, and I know he has, not only some physical damage to that young lady, because you just can't get up from that without having some bruises of some sort, but he's also caused some psychological damage to that young lady. That it's okay for a man, approximately 250, 300 pounds, to accost you in responding to you being disruptive in class and having a cell phone that you would not put away. Come to find out after the matter that the young lady was an orphan and that she had just recently lost her mother. Wow. We never asked those questions in the beginning. We never talked to the human being as a human being and say, what's going on? We don't call the parent on the phone. We call a police officer to slam our children on the ground. Where's the outrage? And for those black folks especially who have been defending police officer Fields, shame on you. Raven Simone, shame on you. Don Lemon, shame on you. But you're privileged. You would say something derogatory, negative about that situation because you're not looking through the proper eyes as most of us are. That's it. Give me your comments, your viewpoints, and tell me what you believe should have happened. This is Brother Teacher, and I'll see you in the next video. So long.